rural Route 1 Carrollton, Georgia before, zip codes.
Pappy, what was it growing in rural Carrollton, Georgia?
Callan, I'm sure that the main reason we've seen so many changes in our world for the worse is zip codes. Before we ever heard of zip codes, our lives were simpler and safer. When all that we had was rural free delivery, there were fewer problems, less stress, and crime. It was just a better time to live. RFD made life better, zip codes made life bitter. Then the U.S. Postal Service added zip codes to complicate our lives. When zip codes were introduced, things began going downhill. There's nothing that I can see that has improved since they started adding zip codes to our letters. Now, it's not just five numbers, there's a hyphen and another four digits, and there's just no end to it. Before you know it, the weight of our letters increases because of all the zip codes, and there goes the cost of stamps spiraling upward again. When I see what's going on in our world, not for the better, it appears to me that it all started when they added zip codes to our addresses.
Pappy, how did you get interested in telling stories?
When we were children, Andrew, someone would tell us something that we thought was not true. Our response was, "That's a story." Even now, when I tell a story about effect rather than truth, I feel some guilt when it's not totally accurate. The guilt lasts about a nanosecond. I fear that after I tell it, someone in the audience will say, "That's a story, and I'm telling your mother." But if it were not for the tales that we spin, there would be something missing in our culture. So, as you read these stories that I've put together, some of it is for effect, not always entirely true. So you can say, "That's a story." You will provide complete and accurate information. Even preachers embellish their personal experiences as they repeat their stories over the years. It's just natural when you refine a tale to make it sound the best you can as you make additions and corrections. I know that my mother would be disappointed to know that this fall I'm going to a storytelling festival. I'm sure she thought that I fostered the movement. I enjoy telling the story of my upbringing. My late mother always cautioned me about telling stories. We were forbidden to call another person a liar. Often, my brother or sister would say to mother, "JW is telling a story," which meant he was telling a lie. When a brother or sister or even a stranger said, "You're telling a story," it was fighting words. That was as bad as calling me a liar. Mother never felt comfortable with any exaggeration, especially when it came to our family. However, when I tell my story, I will likely embellish some parts. I never stray far from the moorings of the truth, but I may add some garnishments to the stories that I tell. In respect for my mother, I will let you know that some of what I say is an exaggeration, but when I tell an outright lie, I'll say so. That's a lie. Daddy says, "If you put hair on it, tell them." I grew up in an English Tudor house with a front door and a back door on a hill just outside the city of Carrollton. We were very wealthy. We had 800 acres of rolling hills with springs scattered across our property. We had five maids and three men who were available to meet our every need. My daddy was the president of the local bank that employed 45 people. He and my mother were recognized as model citizens of our community. My brothers and sisters, as well as I, excelled in everything that we did. That's a lie. That's got a lot of hair on it. There was a time when we put together a lie that's haunted me all these years. Often we fished in Lake Carroll, which was on Mr. Braswell's side. Mr. Braswell had set hooks for catfish. When a big fish pulled long and hard enough, he could pull the pole out of the ground. The day we fished, we saw a pole being pulled along on the surface of the water. We fished the pole to the side. There was an enormous catfish on the hook. Well, we cooked up the story that I caught the fish, which was partly true. On the way home, I was chosen as the hero. We sang, "Oh, he's a jolly good fella," all the way home. Everyone was so proud of me. All went well until my brothers and friends got angry with me about something else. Then the story came out exactly as I had come home with the big catch. That still bothers me. My mother disapproved of me exaggerating the truth, but if I didn't, you wouldn't believe the other stories I would tell.
Pappy, where did you live growing up?
Daniel, our small white clapboard house was too far to walk to town, but close enough to hear the whistle sound for the beginning and ending of the workday at the Law Liar's hosiery mill on Bradley Street in Carrollton. Even though I did not have a watch to wear, I could tell what time it was when that whistle blew. It reminds me of the people who came from Russia to work at a plant that manufactures equipment. These folks were on a buying tour of the plant. They toured the plant during working hours. When the whistle blew, the Russians were amazed to see that all the workers left their stations, either taking a rest break or a lunch break. When the whistle blew, the break was over, and everyone returned to work. As they examined the various pieces of manufacturing equipment, the hosts were sure that these individuals would purchase several pieces of equipment. As the day ended, the salesman put pressure on their buyers to make a purchase. Which piece of equipment would you like to purchase? They said simultaneously, "None." We are surprised. We thought by the interest you showed, you really were going to buy something. "Oh, we do want to buy something." "Well, what would you like to buy?" "We like one of those whistles that you blow at work break. One of those whistles that makes everyone go back to work." As we turned off Highway 166 onto the winding dirt road to our house, there by the side of the road was a piece of Daddy's workmanship. For many years he kept replacing the mailbox that either rotted or was knocked down by a careless driver. Daddy was a plumber by trade, so he had access to galvanized pipe at a cheap price, or perhaps leftovers from a plumbing job. He made a mailbox post out of 1.5-inch pipe cemented 4 feet into the red clay. Daddy proudly displayed his name in letters on top of that mailbox, ordering COD from Sears and Roebuck. In bold, removable letters on the top of the mailbox was W.O. Wallace, Rural Route 1, Carrollton, Georgia. But of course, that was before zip codes. Rural Route 1 with no box number or zip code was good enough for me. We didn't need the corruption of zip codes. No one on Rural Route 1 had a better mailbox than Wallace's. Perhaps that was the most notable monument to luxury in our household. As we drove the quarter of a mile on the winding road that snaked its way on the scenic route through 2 unforgiving mud puddles in a forest of tall Georgia pines, we were welcomed by our small white frame house. This house provided shelter for a family of 8 survivors, but gave witness to the sorrow of 2 who were laid to rest at birth. Our house was rich in memories that we manufactured each day as we talked, worked, and played together. Not a perfect family, but a real one. We did right well for a moderately dysfunctional family. The treasures of our hearts were what we valued most, and it was good that we did because there wasn't much more.
Pappy, what was your house like?
Ian, we were proud of what we had. We were taught that we were no better or less than others. Often, we were corrected when we spoke or acted as if we were better than others, but we also caught the example that we were no less than anyone else. From my grandparents to my parents, I learned to respect myself, which in turn helped me gain proper respect for others. As it should be, the lessons we caught from the example set by others are the more lasting and enduring ones. Our house at the end of that winding ribbon-like road was a palace to us. It was a warm, welcoming place, a contrast to the cold, uncertain places we often travel through in a day. But at the end of the day, we had a place where we found comfort and safety. In the bedroom where 5 of us slept, there were curtains made from the feed sacks that we got from Grandpa and Granny Wallace. The curtains that I remember well were yellow with the words, "Home Sweet Home, There's No Place Like Home," written in black letters. As I looked out the window of that room, I felt that I was as safe as anyone could be. The walls of that small house held the secrets of my childhood as well as the dreams of my youth. If those walls could talk, many forgotten thoughts and dreams could bring us all to our knees. As I remembered the days of my childhood there, it is not fear of what could be revealed about me that I think about. It is the warmth and safety that I cherish most. No one could have been more secure or loved than we were as we survived together in that small, big house. A small house, but it was big in the places that count most, that is love, care, and protection. Our house was never too small for our childhood friends to be welcomed by our folks, to spend the night or have a meal at our table. The rooms were small, but the welcome was big. Our 872 square foot house sat on a knoll at the edge of the woods, surrounded by pine trees and hardwoods. As you came up the winding road into our yard, there was a circular drive around the house. Most people went to the front door. There was a slight stoop at the front entrance to our living room. Every room was small, and we lived in every inch of space in that house.